Is there progression? I don't look at this game and say, oh, yeah, this is progression. I don't think you can look at this game and say progression. I don't want to be the guy that sits here and is always negative on Amorim, because he got the 3 points done and got the job done.
Manchester United getting that clutch win against Burnley today, winning 3-2 thanks to Bruno Fernandes' 97th minute penalty. Let's talk about Manchester United. They're coming off this Grimsby Town loss in the week, a lot of pressure on their back. Nigel, how do you think they've done?
It depends on which way you want to look at it. I think that there was a lot of pressure going into this game, not just because of the antics of Ruben Amorim and his future, and obviously his comments also going into this game, that was always going to be under the microscope. They had a large portion of this game. They dominated possession, more attempts on goal. But let's put that into perspective. This is Manchester United facing a Burnley side that have just been newly promoted to the Premier League, who we know are going to be very defensively organised, structure and concede possession. And you'd have to say overall, even with this domination in this momentum chart, they still got out of jail, Manchester United, because it wasn't, for me, a fully convincing performance where I could say they could be proud of. They still look very questionable defensively. We've had many conversations about this system. Ruben Amorim is going to die on the sword about his system. He doesn't have the players good enough for this system, is my personal belief. I know they've recruited well in the attacking sense to bring in some players to score more goals. But for me, defensively, there's still questionable questions in that back three. And it showed today against a Burnley side that's just newly promoted to the Premier League and still able to take Manchester United to the wire.
Yeah, you know, we always say, we just saw Liverpool obviously concede 2 goals from being up a man and then found a way to win the game late. And then we say, okay, well, we brushed that under the table because they find a way to get it done. So today, because we can't pick and choose now, right? Today, they found a way to get the job done.
Well, okay, I want to push back on that because Grella says that, and he said it before, but the difference between Liverpool and Manchester United is Liverpool just won the Premier League. They're coming with a winning mentality. This is Manchester United, who had a terrible season last year, facing a newly promoted Burnley. Yes, they found a way, but we're still asking the same questions and seeing the same issues with this team. That, yes, they got the job done, but I don't think really and truly to the standards that you're supposed to be being a Manchester United player, were held today. I think it's one of those ones, you got the job done, yes, you got the win, get off that pitch, go home. We can't be celebrating like we just won a Champions League final. Yeah. And it's a different perspective because for Liverpool, they are defending champions. You can say that's a champion's mentality. But for Manchester United, it seems like they keep just getting out of jail where you can't say that it's a performance you can be super proud of.
Yeah, no, but so to my point, though, I agree with what Nigel's saying. To my point is, yeah, they did get the job done today. I think Amorim is a fine manager. I think he is. What he did in Sporting, you can't take away from him. I think that he understands really well. I think his system is awesome. I just think that the club is too big for him. And I think if you ask me the question, is there progression? I don't look at this game and say, oh, yeah, this is progression. I don't think you can look at this game and say progression. I don't want to be the guy that sits here and is always negative on Amorim because he got the 3 points done and got the job done. But the fact is, these circus type of games where they're just back and forth and you're conceding defensive set pieces. I mean, he was working on defensive set pieces in the warm-up to Grimsby before the game, the hour we have before the game. So it's obviously something he's worried about. And conceding so many goals, right? And seesawing back and forth. So to me, that's the worry. That I don't look at this game and say, oh, yeah, this is real progression. Still relying on a 97th minute winner from Bruno. So I think he's a fine manager. I just don't think he's the guy for this job. Also, some of his press conferences, right, and the things that he said, sometimes I want to be at this club, sometimes I don't want to be at this club. Sometimes I hate my players, sometimes I love my players. Seems to me like a guy who's under a crazy amount of stress, a guy that's maybe lacking also a little bit of confidence also in what he has moving forward. And when you watch this team and the goals they concede, it looks like a team to me that is displaying the manager's characteristics of being a little bit lacking of confidence, being a little bit unsure on some of these set pieces and some of these moments, the center backs, when they're going to step out, when they're going to pick up guys. And Burnley, a team that's not known for scoring goals, scored 2 pretty easy goals at Old Trafford. So when you want to talk about progression to me is Man United control the game, which they did for large parts, and they win with a clean sheet, 2-0, 3-0, and everything's positive. The manager's positive moving forward, but I don't think they're quite there yet. And we'll see. There's no easy games in the Premier League. We'll see moving forward. They have some difficult fixtures, but still, you can't take anything away. 3 points, we can't really criticize.
I can understand that, Grella, but for me, again, when you look at the game and everything we've just seen, it's a win that kind of paves over the cracks, but the cracks are still there. That's the problem that you have with these Manchester United performances.
I agree with that.
You've got to look at the bigger picture of it. And for me, it's, okay, yes, we got the win, but like you said, Do you see progression? Do you see development? No, we keep seeing the same questions being asked. We keep seeing the same issues with this Manchester United side. And Ruben Amorim, like, great guy. Seems like a really nice guy. Doesn't help himself with sometimes when he opens his mouth. And there's a moment, again, where you have to realise you're Manchester United manager. Sometimes it's good to wear your heart on your sleeve. Sometimes it's not. Because when you do that, people will always be able to use it against you because you can't keep your emotions inside. And when you see the antics that he's doing now on the sidelines and how he's acting and how he's reacting to some of the plays of his Manchester United players, that's not a great thing. Sometimes you've got to keep it inside and don't let everyone know what you're thinking. And the best managers that we've had are the amazing liars. Sometimes you have to lie to your players, but keep the truth somewhere where it would only stay within that zone and that facility.
Yeah, every time I saw Amorim on the sideline, his body language just looks so negative, and obviously fans are going to feed off of that. But you said there's a lot of questions around this performance. I know it covers up a lot of cracks, but also there were a couple of injuries during the game. Mason Mount came off and also Cunha came off. How worrying is that for this Manchester United side, who aren't just performing well, but having these new players who have come in ultimately out injured?
Yeah, it's something that you don't want to see. Obviously, they're big signings and they're big pieces to his puzzle, right? So you don't want to see them go down injured because then you're going to struggle to have progression and rhythm in the team. He's obviously invested a lot into Cunha early on into the season, not just financially, but also playing him game after game and relying on him. So it's not something as a manager you want to see. And again, it's just going to add. You say you know we saw him on the sideline and what he looks like, his body language. He's looked like he's aged 10 years, right? In 8 months. And it is a big job because it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. But when you have these injuries go down, it's just more problems, more things that he has to deal with and he has to figure out. And at the end of it, you know, whatever ends up happening in the future, and hopefully, again, don't mix it up. Hopefully Amorim is successful at the club. But if it's not, then, you know, it's going to be just another thing that adds to that. Then no one will look back and say, oh, well, these injuries happened. I think at this point now he's got to start getting results, or it's going to be to the fire soon. Well,
with the progression from last season to this season, my biggest worry is the Cunha injury. Cunha, for me, is a special player. He's a talisman, and he has shown glimpses of what he's capable of, and a player that seems more than capable to wear the badge and represent Manchester United. That is going to be a big loss. When you talk about them needing to score goals and stuff, and for those who want to go to stats and everything with XG and all that, he'll be a big part of that. And the worrying thing is also now is Sesko. Sesko's a striker they paid a lot of money for, and for me, still, I don't understand how he's not starting for Manchester United. Obviously, just using common sense and footballing experience, it's probably that he's not up to speed yet, and they're trying to slowly bring him in. But for me, I find that fascinating that you're going to spend that amount of money on a striker in one of the best young strikers in world football, and he's not ready to be, or not up to speed yet to go in and play. So that's going to, again, continue to lead us to ask more questions about it. And every time he steps on that pitch, probably going to be under a greater microscope. I think for me, he's got to be playing. He's got to be starting right now.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and the signing of Zirkzee and the signing of Højlund, and these guys got signed for big money because obviously they displayed something that was quite positive. Sesko, obviously the same, went for huge money because the goals that he was scoring and the way that he was scoring them. I'm not so sure you sign a guy for that kind of money and then you start him 3 games in a row on the bounce on the bench. I don't know what that does for confidence in a team that is clearly lacking that already, but we'll see. As time goes on, we'll see. Obviously, he came on later in the game today, so a guy of that quality and that level, you want to get him going right away.
The goalkeeper's also been a big question mark within this squad. A couple of days left of the transfer window now. Do you think they need to go for Donnarumma? Do they need to go for Emi Martinez? What do they need to do with the remaining days left of the transfer window?
Think about the amount of issues you have in your team. You're worried about set pieces, right? You're worried about all this pressure. You're worried about your system. You have injuries. You've got a million things to worry about.
Worry about your goalkeeper.
And then you've got goalkeepers that are not making routine plays for you, right? So you see a lot of comments and a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, what's he supposed to do about the goalkeeper?" And I agree with that. You set up a game plan. You prepare all week, all summer, right? You make these signings. You're trying to implement this system. And then a goalkeeper is dropping the ball at the doorstep, or maybe not punching when he, trying to parry it right in front of his goal when he should be punching it. Routine mistakes, and it's such a gut punch. Even against Grimsby, Onana comes out and totally whiffs on the first set piece. You could work on set pieces till you're blue in the face, but if your goalkeeper's going to come out and start waving at stuff, you're going to struggle on set pieces, and that's something that maybe Amorim can't control. So for sure, that's another position where I think they're behind the 8 ball a little bit at the moment.
No, they're definitely. I think for me, Bayern there for me is not at the level to be at Manchester United. I think Onana is still the better option, but when you look at the handling of how Ruben Amorim has handled his goalkeeping situation. I personally believe Onana's lost confidence. Yes, he's got a mistake in him. Sometimes can make things happen. But this is the whole part of being a manager and coaches that we've had and experienced. Why would you not just whisper sweet nothings to Onana, make him feel that he's the best goalkeeper in the world, to perform to a respectable level until you can get someone else in? That's what some of the best managers do. But for me, I think that his confidence has gone down because of everything that's happened and also how Amorim has handled that situation. So they've dug themselves in a bigger hole with their goalkeeping situation where they look vulnerable. Every set piece and every cross that comes in there, Manchester United look vulnerable.
Well, guys, it doesn't get much easier for Manchester United after the international break. They're playing against Manchester City. So I'm sure over these next 2 weeks, Ruben Amorim will be searching for all the answers that all the Manchester United fans are asking.